Michelle the Bookworm here, and yeah, it's been a little while. I've been keeping myself busy. So before I go into my book review, I thought I'd give you guys a little bookworm update. The certain pandemic is still going on where I am living. And it feels like it's just not going to go away. So, yeah, that is still happening. I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. And because of that, I am now currently working from home. I have a new job as working from home as a mortgage company person, assistant. I basically help people out like with navigating their mortgages and making payments and stuff like that. But it's all work from home, so that's awesome because I have very bad lungs. And that's going to keep me safe. I just finished my first term of online school, and it has been a really interesting experience. I have never done online school before. For those of you who don't know, it is my aspiration to teach English abroad. And I am now finished with my first term of my TEFL certification, which is Teaching English as a Foreign Language certification. So I am super happy about that. I finished my first term. I'm really proud of myself. And yeah, I'm currently paying it out of pocket. So I'm very happy that my new job pays well because I'm going to need it. So yeah, that has been what I have been up to. Obviously, I have not been reading nearly as much as I was in quarantine, but I'm still getting quite a bit done. And today I wanted to talk about a book that was it was a largely anticipated book for the year of 2020. A few months ago, I read the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a prequel to The Hunger Games. A lot of people are calling it like Hunger Games Book 5. No, it's not. It is a prequel to The Hunger Games, or The Hunger Games Book 4, and it's a prequel to The Hunger Games. So basically, this takes place 10 years after the war between the districts and District 13. I don't necessarily want to spoil it for you guys, but in the books, District 13, which was a district that like mainly it built all the weapons, it was destroyed. So this is 64 years before the start of the Hunger Games trilogy. And it takes place in the capital. Now, the capital is still pretty cut off from the rest of the districts. They're extremely privileged, and they really don't understand the reality of the terrors that have been going on. And that is where we find Coriolanus Snow. Now, Snow, or as he is called, Coro, or Coronius, his family had a lot of capital in District 13. That's primarily where they made a lot of their money. So he went from being like pretty damn wealthy to being poor in the matter, overnight. They have this pride about them. They really want to still succeed. They want to keep their social status. So they try to dress as well as they can. Corona is almost like he's frequently starving because but he doesn't like anybody knowing about it because he is constantly like trying to keep up that appearance. So 18-year-old Coronius Snow wants to mentor the tributes, not because he really cares about the Hunger Games, but because he knows that it will put him in the spotlight, get him a shot at that glory, and hopefully he will also get a scholarship to the university, which is the only way that he would be able to attend. Even now, Coronius is esteeming to be the president. Like, he already knows what he wants. He wants to be the president. So let's take a little bit more of a look at our characters. We have Coronius Snow, and his father was considered a war hero. His family was once rich from their presence in District 3, and is now poor but trying to keep up those affluent appearances. But he's very sheltered. So the issue that constantly keeps showing up is that even though he's poor, even though he's impoverished, he still has that privilege of always being in District 13. He does not know anything outside the life of the capital. And he sees districts, the district as people who started the war that killed his father. So he does have that, like, built-in grudge with them. And that leads us to our second main character, who is Lucy Gray. Lucy Gray is a folk singer from District 12. Her family grew up as nomads, and they would go around and they're performers. They sing, they dance, and they perform in order to get money. Well, the nomads were rounded up and put in District 12 because that's the poorest of the poor, and that's just the class that they were put in. Lucy Gray is awesome. She is wild. She's fearless. She's outspoken. She's got spunk. She is awesome. And Snow is instantly drawn towards her because other people are drawn towards her. She just has this ability to draw people in, and that's one thing that makes her such a good performer. I don't want to give too much away, but there were some things that I thought were super interesting. The first theme that I really noticed is the role that you play, and like whether you get to choose that role or whether you just are told that role. And I think there's two different people. I think Lucy, everyone was constantly telling her, you are District 12 scum. But she didn't believe that. She didn't believe that for herself, and she, has this fearlessness in her and this kindness in her that leads her to go many places, whereas Coronius, he, truly believes that he doesn't belong, and he feels like he's trying to fit in to where he's told and feels like he's acting like a poser. So he's while she's carving out her own destiny, he on the other hand is trying to live up to the destiny that is told that he has to have. He does have some growth, and that is what's really super hard. Coronius starts to develop feelings for Lucy, and it's so weird the way he goes about this. There's definitely a power dynamic in this situation because she is his tribute. He has literally power over her life. And so that plays a very strange dynamic where he obviously starts to develop human feelings for her, and doesn't want to see her killed, and while at the same time, like, she's literally has her life in his hands, and like, while he does whatever he can that's in his power to help her, and even more so, it's still within the rules and the guidelines of the capital. It's a really interesting character that he is portrayed as, because he's constantly towing this line of doing what's right by capital standards and then doing what's morally right. So he constantly has this issue of, and this inner conflict of doing what's right and doing what's loyal. Another thing that I thought was particularly pretty cool about this book is that there's a lot of foreshadowing elements within the story. For instance, Snow has a huge attraction to roses in the trilogy, and this kind of shows, like, in one element of this story is that his mother has this beautiful, gorgeous rose garden that kind of helps to keep up that appearance of like luxury, is that she has all these like she has some of the best roses in the country, and she's known for making perfumes out of these roses. And so he constantly has like he's constantly smelling like roses, even though he's dirt poor. So there's also some elements of foreshadowing with how the Mockingjays were made. At one point they are considered like this huge nuisance because they were considered like an abomination. But they play a huge role in this story because it's kind of like the idea of people don't like it when what they're seeing is said back to them, because the way that these birds can like mimic people, they can also do it in like a really eerie way. Like, there's been a couple of times where Snow says something and the birds mimic it back at him, and it's just the way that they say it makes it creepy. And that kind of shows this reflection of showing people that what they're saying is like not right, like what's going on around here is not right, and people just don't want to see that. The people in power don't want to see how all of this is wrong. There's also foreshadowing of the hanging trees. Way back in the trilogy, is referenced in a song, The Hanging Tree, where the rebels were hung. During the Hunger Games trilogy, this tree was no longer in use. During this time, the tree is still being used for hangings. So there is that level of fear that if you are seen as a rebel, you will be put to death. There's also the evolution of the games themselves that I think is really interesting. Snow actually works on a special project while he is in school to help design aspects of the Hunger Games. So initially in the past, I guess they literally just took these kids and just had them in an arena and they killed each other. So now it's turned into like more of a gladiator match. Now Snow is part of a project to make it like more entertaining. He was the one who is making it more into like a tournament or a betting, like something that they can have fans and they can like, he participated in making it more of a game. He, like, the idea of giving them gifts, that was something that was his idea. But on one hand, that's really nice that people can be sponsors and give them food and drink that they're actually needing. On the other hand, it's still pretty messed up that you are betting on kids. So it's like that's his entire character is like he's got really good ideas, but all for the wrong reasons. Yeah, and one more thing I want to say about the Mockingjays is that it is a symbol because they are evolving to fight back. They're evolving to fight back against the system and against the system that created them. So I think that that's a really cool aspect, and it kind of helps me to understand why the Mockingjay is the symbol for Katniss in the end. Because the district's kind of made her what she is, and she's using that to fight back. And the last, I guess, theme that I kind of wanted to touch on was morality. Snow is constantly has an issue between duty to what he was taught and duty to what is right. And at times he doesn't know what's right because all he's ever known is following duty, so he kind of just goes towards what he wants. It's really difficult, and eventually, like, there is an evolution or a de-evolution of his character, and you kind of get to see a little bit more of how that happens. Personally, and again, I don't want to give any spoilers, there was so much build-up and so much conflict that he had, and so much back and forth with his in terms of his morality and like what he was deciding to do, that what he ended up choosing to do in the end and what ended up happening, I don't like how it ended. The whole premise of this book is to understand like how he became the person he is today. I think that the catalyst of him like choosing to be President Snow could have been different. And that's all I'm going to say about that, but I think that that's super important because like that's the whole question that we're all asking is how and why he goes to that level. I think that the catalyst of him turning to the direction of President Snow was too sharp for the situation that he was put in. And that's all. I know it's ambiguous, but that's all I really want to say about that. In general, I gave this book a 4 out of 5. It was riveting. I could not put this book down. I had to know what was going to happen. The beginning part of the book where he's with Lucy and he's like being her mentor, like that went by so fast and that was so good. And I absolutely, like, it kept me wanting to know more. I really liked all the little tidbits of foreshadowing that was spread throughout this book. That, I think, is like the coolest aspect of this book, is that if you give us, or Suzanne Collins gives us these little tidbits of foreshadowing where we can just be like, oh yeah, that was in the second book, like that was in the trilogy, oh that's the reason why the Mockingjays are around, and that's what's with them. And just some of the things that weren't explained in the original book were really cool. I think that also the portrayal of Coronius's morality, conveying the conflict and getting us to understand why Snow was like this. I do think that the ending could have been different. I think that it could have gone a different route that would have made more sense. But overall, it was a good book. I gave it a 4 out of 5, and I would highly recommend it. I do not think that there will be another one, to be honest. It does not leave off to having another one, so I don't think that we will be getting another one, but it was really cool to see that backstory and kind of, especially the part about the hanging tree, and like see that firsthand and see how traumatizing that is. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that I can do this more often. Now that I have like a set schedule, I'm hoping to put out a video every Thursday, so stay tuned for that. And I guess my general question is, what did you think of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? And what did you think of the relationship dynamic between Lucy and Snow? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as always, read on, Bookworms. Bye!